Tao. For freedom, honest beginning is essential. For freedom, the first thing that you have to realize is that this is really your knowing that you are the body. You may have heard that you are soul, but this is not your knowing, not your realization. Your realization is only of the body. Do not deceive yourself, because any kind of deception will not help. If you think that you already know that you are not the body, then you cannot remove, toss aside any attachment with the body. If you have already known that you are not the body, then how can you remove the attachment towards the body? Because really for you, there is no attachment. For you, there is no attachment. You already know. If you know that, then many difficulties arise because you can, and those difficulties cannot be realized. The first difficulty is to be sold at the beginning that I am the body. Once you lose the beginning, you can never solve it, you can never reach the end. You have to come back again and again to the beginning unless you realize that you are the body. So remember well and realize that you do not know yourself anything other than the body. This is the first and the basic realization. To say that Aham Brahmasmi, I am ever expanding consciousness, cannot help you. You are simply deceiving yourself. You have to know where you are. You are at the level of the body. Your only experience and knowing is of the body. And from here, you have to begin your journey. This realization is not there. Your mind has been befogged by whatsoever you have heard. Your mind is conditioned by knowledge of others. It is not your own understanding. Instead, it is borrowed, not real. Not that it is false. It's not that Aham Brahmasmi is false. It is false. It is true. But for you, it has not been your realization. As a result, it is false. Those who have said Aham Brahmasmi, they have known it. This statement is from the sages or the awakened ones from the Upanishads. They have known their reality. But your only experience of you is of the body, not yet mind. Although mind and body are one mechanism, they work in harmony with one another, but you are at the point of the body. So scriptural injunctions, statements, when Jesus says God is love, you do not know love, you do not know God. How can you can simply believe, and that belief will not help you. This has been the realization of Jesus. but not yours. Because it is not yours, it will not help you in your journey of transformation. It will not help you to attain to freedom. Through this realization that God is love, Jesus attained to freedom. Freedom from bondage. It is not that these statements are not true. They are true. But for you, they have not yet kindled up. The flame has not yet kindled up. So whenever I say something is false, I mean it is not your experience. It may be true for someone else, but not really true for you. And truth is individual in this sense. Your truth is not my truth. Your experience cannot be my experience, but my experience can be an impetus to you to experience it yourself. You may be a great chef. You have experience. Your experience can inspire me, but your experience does not mean the dish that you make will, and the dish that I am going to make will taste different, will taste the same. Truth is individual in that sense, and truth is truth only when you have experienced it, you have realized it, that you are not the body. You are ever expanding consciousness. If you have realized it, then it becomes true. Otherwise, it is untrue and false for you, and it will not help you in any way. There are no universal truths that applies to everyone. Every truth has to be individual before it becomes true for you. You know, you have heard. This is part of your knowledge, part of your inheritance, your belief system that you are not the body. You are ever expanding consciousness. But it is not real for you. First, you have to toss aside any unreal knowledge that you have gathered. That Aham Brahmasmi, I am ever expanding consciousness. The scriptural injunction, God permeates through the entire cosmos, and I am ever expanding consciousness. This is not your realization. So you have to put this aside. You have heard it. Face the fact that you know yourself only as the body. That will create a great tension in you. It was just to hide that tension that you have gathered knowledge, and you're living this with this false belief. The experience of Jesus can never be your experience. If you want to know the experience of married life, you have to enter into. Just by listening to the stories of the others, what happens as a married life, or what is the joy or experience of honeymoon, you have to enter into it. Remaining on the shore, Omar Khayyam has a beautiful rubai composition of 4 lines. What shall you gain, O fool, by talking about those who are drunk and gone? Jesus is drunk and gone. He is drunk with the pristine wine that brewed in deep within, a God wine. He is drunk with that. And you have heard that Jesus said this, and you have taken it for granted, and you think this is your experience also. The experience of a married person who has tasted the bliss of the married life is real, and yours is imagination. That will create, if I tell you not to believe in Jesus, not to believe in Muhammad, not to believe in Ram and Krishna, that will create tension in you, because this belief system was simply to hide that tension that you gathered with this knowledge. You believe the words of Jesus. This has created, now there is a belief system that God is love, and there is another realization, your realization. And there is a conflict between the two. You go on believing that you are not the body, and you go on living as a body. So there is a conflict. You believe that you are not the body, but you continue to live as the body, facing all that body does. So you are divided, and your whole being becomes pseudo. Really, this is a very paranoid condition. You live as body, but you think you are a soul. Then there is a conflict, there is a struggle, and you are constantly in an inner turmoil, a deep unease which cannot be bridged by anything. There is nothing to bridge between your belief system and reality. So first encounter the fact that you know nothing about the soul. You know nothing about the soul, the self. All that you know is about the body. All that you have experienced is the experience of the body. Body is short-lived. And you are talking about the experience of that which is never born, never dies. You have heard that soul is never born, never dies. But you have only experience of the body which is ephemeral. It came into existence once. It will undergo various changes, and then one day it will dissolve. This will release, and if you realize that you are the body, this will release a very uneasy condition in you. All that is hidden will come up to the surface. In realizing the fact that you are the body, you will literally be perspiring, because what you have believed all these years, all your life, is now exposed. In realizing this fact that you are the body, you will feel very uneasy, strange, and that feeling has to be gone through. It has to disappear. Only then you can know what attachment to the body means. What attachment to the body means. Teachers go on saying that you should not be attached to the body, but the basic thing, what attachment to the body is unknown to you. What is the attachment with the body? What is meant by attachment to the body is a deep identification with the body. First, you have to realize that what this identification is, and only then you can put aside all your knowledge that you have gathered, all your knowledge that has given you an illusory sense that you are soul. Realize that you know only one thing, and that is the body. Nothing else you know. How does this create, and how does this release hidden turmoil and hidden hell within you? The moment you realize you are body, for the first time you realize the attachment. For the first time you grip the fact that your consciousness, that in your consciousness, that this body which is born, the body which is undergoing change and that will die, is you. We celebrate, when you celebrate the birthday, whose birthday are you celebrating? The birthday of the body. For the first time you realize the fact that these bones, this is you. For the first time you realize the fact that this is sex, this anger is you. All these false images, so all these false images fail and you become real. The moment you realize you are body, for the first time you realize the attachment to the body. For the first time you grip the fact that your consciousness is only of the body which is born, which will undergo change and which will die one day. And this is you. For the first time you realize the fact of all these bones are you. For the first time you realize the fact that this sex, this anger, this is you. You are anger, you are sex. Not that you get angry. If you are anger, you must get angry. So all the false images fall then. Suddenly, the moment you realize, you become real. This reality is painful, very painful. That is why we go on hiding it. And it is a deep trick. You go on thinking about yourself, as the being, as the soul. And everything that you do not like, you throw on the body. So you say sex belongs to the body, love belongs to you. Then you say greed and anger, they belong to the body, compassion belongs to you. Compassion belongs to the self. Cruelty belongs to the body, forgiveness belongs to the self. Anger belongs to the body. So whatsoever you feel is wrong, you throw it on the body. And you said you are not the body. And whatsoever you feel is beautiful, you go on being identified with. You create a division in you. You are the body, your experience is of the body, your experience of the life is that of the body, the anger, the sex, and all these things like that. This division will not allow you to know what attachment is. And unless you know what attachment is, unless you suffer the misery of it, misery arising out of sex, misery arising out of anger, and hell out of it, you cannot put it aside. The moment you realize that anger is misery, you can find ways and means to get out of it. How can you put it aside? You can put aside something only when you prove it to be a disease. You do not consider anger as a disease. You consider it as natural. You consider sex as natural. Yes, it is natural under certain circumstances. You can put something aside only when it proves as a disease, when it proves a heavy burden, when it proves hell for you. Only then you can put it aside. So far you have not realized it. Your attachment has not proved to be a hell yet. Whatsoever Buddha says, whatsoever Mahavir says, whatsoever Jesus says is irrelevant to you, or whatsoever any enlightened one or awakened one says is irrelevant. They may go on saying that attachment is hell, but this is not your feeling. You do not consider this an attachment. That is why you again and again come and ask how to be detached, how not to be attached with something, how to go beyond attachment, how to attain to freedom. You go on asking this how only because you do not know what attachment is. The moment you realize what attachment is, you will simply jump out of it. Then you will not ask how. If you realize there is a fire in the house, you will not ask questions about it. You will simply find how to jump out of it. You will simply jump out of it. You will not ask. If your house is on fire, you will not ask anyone. You will not go seeking a master to ask how to come out of it. Because you are seeing the fire, you have realized it. If the house is on fire, you simply get out of it. Because you don't need to ask anyone. You will not lose a single moment. You will not search any awakened one. You will not search any psychiatrist. You will not consult any scriptures. And you will not try to choose in what way one has to come out. You will simply jump out of it. When you know what attachment is, the house is on fire and you can put it aside. So you have to reach to that position when you realize that your inner house is on fire. Anger, sex, lust, greed, these are fire. To enter into this technique or this way, first you have to throw the false knowledge of the self that I am soul or God is love or love is God or whatsoever you may think that way. You have to throw the false knowledge of the self so that the attachment with the body is revealed in its totality to you. In every way I am in the body, I am attached to the body. it is going to be very difficult. You cannot separate yourself from the body and all that relates to the body. It is going to be very difficult, and it is going to be a deep anxiety and anguish to face that. It is not going to be easy, it is arduous, but once you face it, you can put it aside, and then there is no need to ask. It is absolutely a fire, a hell, and you can jump out of it. Only when you realize the body is fire, it is hell, then you can come out of it. It has been the source of misery and everything. Then you come out of does not mean that you come out of the house. Come out means you have lost all attachment with it. So Buddha says, you say that I have a pain here, I have a pain there. An awakened one will not say. He says, I feel there is a pain in the body, pain in this particular place. There is a discomfort in the body. He will not say that I am sick. The body is diseased. Totally a different kind of a language begins. So before we enter into the sutras, it is enough for now.